By now, you guys know all about the Jaden Rashada lawsuit against Billy Napier and Hugh Hathcock and others. But let's take a few minutes to talk about what it actually means for UF. All right. First and foremost, I think that this is a money grab by the Rashada family. I just do. I understand that they feel that they were wronged. I understand that they feel like they had this sweet deal with Miami in place, and then Florida came in and offered them more. And so they got out of that deal with Miami so that they can sign with the Gators. I think that both sides probably have different recollections of what went on in those days leading up to signing day and even on signing day. Rashada ends up eventually not in orange and blue, right? Gets released from his scholarship and, ends up across the country in Arizona. The rest is history. Here we are. I do think that this is a lot of he said, she said, and that the Rashadas want a settlement. And I think that that is likely how this case is going to end up. And since that is probably the ultimate end game of this anyway, I think that Napier and company should just go ahead and settle and be done with this, right? Because it's not a great look for UF, even though I do believe it's a money grab for Rashada. It's not going to play well on the recruiting trail. I guarantee you other universities are going to use it to negatively recruit UF, even though I think that there's parts of that are completely unfair. I do think that's what's going to play out, though. And so I think it's important for Napier and company to just go ahead and settle. Something that I think is worth talking about, though, is that the University of Florida and the University Athletic Association are not named in this lawsuit. The Gator Collective, which is the fundraising entity for Florida football at the time, was also not named, even though the contract between Rashada and the Gator Collective, the one that was terminated on December 6th, which is more than a week before Rashada signed on that dotted line, the only contract that existed in paper form was between Jaden Rashada and the Gator Collective. But the Gator Collective is not being sued here. They are not mentioned anywhere in the lawsuit. And I think that that is definitely a point worth mentioning. Now, obviously, the kid and his family feel like they were wronged. And I get it. This is the bad part of recruiting that takes place across the country. How many college athletes can tell the story about being promised playing time or a car or, a certain spot on the depth chart, whatever. This is the negative underbelly of recruiting that happens in college football everywhere, is that a lot of times colleges, coaches, outside boosters tell players what they want to hear. This is a tale as old as time for college football. Now, does that make it right? Absolutely not. But are we going to pretend like this is the first time that's ever happened in college football if what's being alleged here is true? No, not on this channel. We are not. I do think that there's probably an element of this where powers that be that influence recruits were trying to, maybe one up Miami. We wanted Rashada. They wanted him. We wanted a win over Miami, probably as big as we wanted Rashada. But I really think that some of this lawsuit, particularly what is lobbied at Billy Napier, is unfair. Do you think for 1 minute that Billy Napier intended to not have Jaden Rashada get what he believed was promised to him? I can't imagine that. Billy Napier wanted Jaden Rashada to come and play for him. So obviously he wanted whatever was in place to make that happen to happen. And I think that saying and proving that the intent was there to never pay him are two totally different things. What the Rashadas are alleging is not breach of contract. What they are alleging is fraud. They're alleging that Hugh Hathcock and Billy Napier never had any intention of paying them at all. One, that's going to be incredibly difficult to prove. Two, I find it hard to believe anyway. It doesn't make sense. They wanted Jaden Rashada to come and play for the Gators. Now, is there a chance that a big booster said, oh, yeah, I'm going to give you X number of dollars. Just come on here and come play for us? Yeah, I guess there is. Is there a chance that Coach Napier said that? Yes, there is. Do I think Coach Napier said it with the intention of never paying him? No, I do not. Not for a second. Another thing I think that's interesting that we should talk about is the fact that Jaden Rashada had representation during all of this. This contract was terminated on December 6th. Jaden Rashada signed with the Gators on December 13th. Coach Napier was an hour late to his press conference on that day because he was talking to Jaden Rashada and trying to get him to sign on the dotted lines. Now, it's a he said, she said about what took place during that hour-long conversation and then him, signing. But there wasn't another contract drawn up with the Gator Collective and signed during that window. There was nothing on a piece of paper. So if the Rashadas wanted something different than what was on paper, they should have had a contract drawn up before they agreed to sign the scholarship contract. And they didn't. His parents were involved in this. He had representation. It just seems crazy to me that now we're going to claim fraud when none of those people had any issue or needed anything in writing on that day. I have seen a lot of posts suggesting that Kirby Smart is behind this lawsuit. I will tell you that I had heard about this lawsuit weeks ago, probably months ago, actually. I do not think that Kirby Smart is in any way behind this lawsuit. Now, I do think he had to have given his blessing. This is something that the Rashadas would have made Kirby Smart aware of during this recruiting process before he transferred there. He 100% knew that it was coming and probably loves the idea that he is going to potentially benefit from this because he's going to be able to use it negatively recruiting. But I don't think that Kirby Smart was behind it. And, let's talk about NCAA penalties. Obviously, right now, under the current judge's ruling that put a halt to any NCAA penalties, this is not going to have any outcome on the university or Rashada at the moment. Could that change? Maybe. It depends on what comes out of these NCAA lawsuits that are going on. More than likely, Rashada will be out of playing time, out of eligibility by the time we have any sort of answers on the courts from these NCAA rules that are currently on freeze, basically on pause. But it could at some point come back to the university. I just really feel like every party wants to settle here. The Rashadas don't actually want to go to court because what they are alleging, even if true, is going to be incredibly difficult to prove, which is what makes me think that this is a money grab. Hey, we thought we were going to get generational money out of this. We thought we were going to get $13 million. Instead, we ended up with like a bike deal in Arizona. Playing for Arizona State instead, and now we're transferring to Georgia. We want some of that money we thought was coming here back. We don't actually have a strong enough case to make it all the way through courts. We do have enough to make Billy Napier and company sweat a little bit. So we're going to do what we can to get a settlement and get some of the money that we feel like we're owed. They feel like they were wronged. Whether that's fair or not, that's not for me to decide, but I do think this ends in a settlement. I don't think any party, Rashadas included, look great from this lawsuit. So everybody benefits from settling it quickly. But I don't think there's any massive risk to UF being in any real trouble here because I don't think anything that is alleged is going to be easily proven. What are you guys' thoughts? I want to talk about it down in the comments below. I think this is a really interesting topic. I know a lot of you have really strong opinions on it, so let me know. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I wanted to be able to share my thoughts with you on this because it is such a hot button topic. Talk to you guys soon, and as always, go Gators.